Welcome back, my friends. So today we're going to talk about printing, and this is a crucial topic for anyone that kind of follows this channel, whether it's the art, the photography, or the business side. Being able to produce quality prints is something that is going to elevate your game in all of these areas. So how can we get really good prints that when people buy them, they comment? Now, I've been selling prints for about 4 years. And throughout all of this, especially with sort of my Etsy shop and selling it there, constant 5-star reviews that we get through is always commenting on the quality of the print. And so it should, because when somebody buys a digital file or purchases the digital files from you, you're giving it to them to print, and they're most likely just going to print it on an inkjet at home on card. What you are giving them is something that they don't have access to. You are giving them the materials that they cannot get without spending a lot of money. So how do we produce these types of prints? So let's go over how I managed to get printed photos like this, where you can get the colors in exactly as you see on the screen. You get no gaps on the paper. How do we set all of this up? It's one thing to go and buy the right paper, buy the right printers, but there's a few other settings that's going to help you stand out from the crowd as well. Now, it's worth saying that there are many ways to print, and the way I'm going to show you is just the way that I have done for about 4 years now. And the reason I stick with this way is because I've tested it with thousands and thousands of customers that I've printed off for, and they seem to love it. I've never had a comment about the quality of the print being bad. So to me, it's a tested way, and it's a way that I stick with, and it's also a way that I like. So this is very personal, but we'll get into the different types of paper and those secret things that are going to allow you to print things off that they look exactly like they do on the screen. And if that sounds interesting or helpful to you, then stick around. Firstly, I just want to show you these two. Now, this was a product that I sold on my shop for years now, and it's just a Soundwave print. But the reason why I'm going to use this as an example is because they are both blue, and it's a very, very bold color that I'm going for. The first print that we have here is how I want it to print. It looks like the colors on the screen. It's nice and bold. There's good quality to it. Whereas the second one looks more faded. It doesn't quite fill out as nice on the paper as well. So that you should have printer profiles that match your entire setup, but you should also be using the correct paper as well. So let's talk paper first then. Now, whether you go for matte finish, gloss, satin, all of that can be a personal choice. Me, I prefer to go for the type of style that I do. I go for matte finished, and that includes printing off things like this. So this one that we did, this is on a matte finished, and I prefer matte just because I can see more of the details in there. But when I'm doing black and white, I tend to go for a satin finished look, just so I can get more of a sheen going across it. To be honest, I generally never use gloss, but again, that's my own personal one. So for me, I'd use matte paper for when I'm doing my photography prints and my artwork, especially if it's painterly type styles like watercolor or oil paintings. It's always a matte finish, just so you can see those details and any textures you may have put over the top of it, like a canvas texture. If it comes down to black and white, that's when I lean into my more satin and get a little bit more of a sheen over the top of it. But again, that's just me. What you do want to look at, however, is using paper thickness and using actual photo paper. So out the two we have here, this one over here, the more faded one, this is just done on card, and you can see how flimsy that is as well. Whereas this one is done on the photo paper, and you see how that's a bit more sturdy because it's a heavier weight, but also it looks bolder in the colors than if we hold up the card one. So what paper do I use? I hold up a sheet of 250 here, at least I think it's 250, but these guys I have used for years now, and I like them because they are really budget friendly. So if you're running an Etsy shop and you're sending out loads and loads of prints, these guys are really good. Quality that comes out matches sort of the Canon papers that came free with the printer that I use, but it's just not sustainable to buy that many sheets. Whereas with these, I can buy about 250 sheets here for around £65. Not sure on the dollar conversion, but it's good, especially when I'm shipping stuff out to customers. It ends up costing me about 50p a sheet. If that, if you buy bulk. Also, what's the benefit of these guys? Where I am in the UK, they are next day delivery as well. So when I've made a bit of a boo-boo and run out of paper, I know I can get next day delivery from these guys too. This is not me in any way sponsoring them. I have no sponsorship with them. I just really like their paper and the quality it's produced on it, and so do thousands of customers. But I like the reliability of the company. Also, I've had some of these packs delivered in the past, damaged, where the corners have been screwed up by the delivery person. All I've done is contact them and they've shipped me out a free product next day delivery. So really good customer service on these guys as well. But that's the paper I use, and you'll find on their site they actually have loads of different options, hopefully one that suits your need. But I can't recommend them enough just because of A, customer service, quality of the prints, but it's really friendly on the wallet, especially if you're running a business. What thickness should you go for? Me personally, I'd use a 230 GSM, and I don't tend to go anywhere below that. Just again, for reference, this is 160 GSM, and you can see it's quite flimsy on there because it's just card. Whereas this one with 230 GSM, it feels more solid, feels more stable. And when customers kind of take this out of packaging, it just feels more quality than the flimsy piece of card. So that's why I tend to go for like a 230 GSM for weight on there. Now, we talked about the paper, but how can we get the quality? Because I could do, again, a test with these and print how I print on the paper and how all of the defaults print, and you're not going to necessarily get the same results you want on there. And that's because we're missing something crucial, which is your printer profile. And this is the main thing you want to make sure you've got installed on your computer. It's going to help you load. If you've got the right printer profile for your printer and for the paper that you're using, the results are going to look very, very similar to what's on screen. Now, this is really good if you're sending proofs out to clients or people can view your work beforehand. You want to make sure you're meeting that expectation. So that means what you see on screen, you want to make sure is going to come out of the printer, because you don't want to be messing around with settings, wasting paper. You need to be sure in your workflow that you can hit print, and what's going to come out there is what the client has already seen and is expecting to see when they open up that envelope and pull out your beautiful piece of work. So what printer should you be using then? Now, there's loads and loads of options out there on the market, and the ones that I use to get this result is the Canon Pro 100S. And again, I brought this for about £350 years ago now, and it's never faltered. I've never had anything happen to it. And I love the quality it produces. It's an 8 ink cartridge, so it's a little bit less than some of the other models. But again, I don't print a lot of black and white images, so I find just having the black, grey and light grey in the mixture in the ink cartridges is enough for me. But for the thousands of prints I've sent out there, again, no complaints, and it's more budget friendly. So if you're just starting out, instead of going for loads and loads of ink cartridges and big high-end printers, the 100S is a really good option. Now, downside to that is a maximum of an A3 printer, but it's going to be friendly again on your wallet. So in our stores, we limit our prints to A3, and for the type of stuff we do, that works. It may not for you, you may want to go up to the A2 size, then you will be looking at different ones, but the 100S has always worked really well for me, and this is, again, what I've printed out on the 100S, and it's fine. I like it, other people like it. If you like it, that's the main thing. Now, when you install your printer, you will get loaded onto there something called printer profiles, and you'll get a load of profiles that come with the printer, but they still might not be right for the type of paper you're using. So printer profile, the aim there is that when you are printing your image, you are going to see what you're seeing on the screen. That's the idea behind it. Now, if I go into here on Photoshop, and I'm going to go to File and Print, come down the side then, and you'll see that I have my color handling that the printer manages the colors. Now, you can also have Photoshop manages colors. Me personally, I always go to the printer manages the color. But you'll see here that it also says, remember to enable the printer's color management in the print settings dialog box. Now, if I go into print settings and I come down here into the printer options and into color matching, you will see we get a list of all of these profiles that say Canon Pro 100S, and next to them you've got different types of paper. So there is a profile here for their photo paper, one for their glossy, one for their fine art. There's a printer profile that is supposed to say this is this printer plus this paper equals hopefully what you're going to see on screen there. But you'll notice I'm not using any of those. I'm actually using this one at the top, which is a little bit of a different formatting. Now, this one comes from this company. So whenever you're buying paper, generally these places will have printer profiles for free that you can download on the site. Now again, for their customer service, I couldn't find it on the site, dropped them an email, within an hour I had the printer profile for my printer. Now all you've got to do is go onto your computer and install this in the back end in your libraries and in the printer profiles. I think for the Mac this sits in the Color Sync folder. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where it goes. Now, once you've put that in there, you are then going to get the option for this to appear in Photoshop here. So I'm going to select my Canon matte, and this now means that I'm going to get the best results from this because my profile is taking into account the type of paper I'm using and the printer that I'm using. But what other settings can we do whilst we're in here? So first of all, let's just go up to the size. Now I've printed this off at an A3 size, and you'll notice that I have no border around this. And again, this is just something that I prefer and I send out to clients because I'm not a big fan of the whole frames around there. To get the borderless feel, you'll need to go into your size options and change that to borderless, and that's going to avoid getting that margin around the side there. Usually it defaults to just like an A3, and that's going to give you that margin. Another thing to call out then is the quality and media. So when you come into here, you will want to change this over, and I've always set this then on my matte photo paper, and I've set the standard on high. I do find it slows it down a little bit with printing, but it's really worth it. So I make sure I have that changed over to the photo paper and that over on high there. And then I will save that. Now what you could also do then is save this as a preset if you want, so that each time you come around to print, you can just load up your A3, your A4, your different sizes, and you don't have to go in and change all of these profiles and bits again. Once I've hit save there, everything else I generally avoid. Now I do set mine scale to fit media. If you're doing borderless, that is worth doing just in case it's slightly off by a little bit when you're printing. So I set that scale to media, which just does that little bit of stretching to the sides. But I know for a fact the file is an A3 anyway. And for most of the photo type prints that I do, and even for my artwork, I've always had it on relative color metric here. I won't go into that side today, but that's the one that I found again gives the best results with this. So once I've got everything in there, I'm then going to simply hit print. So let's just have a quick recap over the different elements that you want in order to get really good prints. First of all, use a good printer. Get yourself a really good printer that uses, again, genuine inks. You can experiment with some of the more budget-friendly inks. It's entirely up to you there if you notice the difference. I, again, just generally use Canon inks with mine because I can't be arsed with the hassle on it. But get yourself a printer that meets your needs and, again, meets your budget. Remember, you're going to have to top this up a lot with ink, so you want to make sure you can afford that ink as well. Next, you want to make sure you've got good paper. So no more printing on flimsy card. Go for something that's around 230 GSM in thickness. That will provide the quality that clients like, and it will mean that you get really good prints in general. Next up, you need to marry your printer and your paper together by getting a color profile. These should come with your paper provider. You can always contact the company. Install that onto your computer. Remember that it goes, I believe, in the Color Sync folder within your Mac. If it's on Windows, no idea. But you need to just have that installed in the right place on your computer, then Photoshop will pick that up and choose that when you're printing. Your next step is in the actual settings itself to make sure you have chosen your printer profile. You've got it sized right, and that's whether you're using a border or no border, but also remember to change the quality of the media over to match your paper and also put it on that high standard. Once you've got all of that in place, hit print, and then hopefully you should get something come out that looks relatively similar to what you saw on screen. Now I really like that. I've been after printing this one for a while, but I really wanted to do it for this video. So now that I've got that, it's going to take a nice place up on the cube unit behind me with one of my other photos. So I hope you all found this really useful. If you did, please do like and subscribe, comment, all of those usual things really helps the channel out, and I'll see you in the next one.